How was Noah's Ark really built? We've all heard the story, but the sheer scale of this project is mind-boggling. Let's dive into the fascinating details of constructing one of the most famous vessels in history. First, let's talk about the divine blueprint. According to the account in Genesis, God gave Noah very specific instructions. The ark was to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Now, what's a cubit? It's an ancient unit of measurement, roughly the length of a forearm from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. While it varied slightly, a common estimate is about 18 inches or 45 centimeters. So, doing the math, the ark would have been a colossal 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's about 1.5 football fields long and as tall as a 4-story building. This wasn't just a boat. It was a massive floating structure. The material specified was gopher wood. Now, this is a bit of a mystery. The term gopher would appear only once in the Bible, right here in the story of Noah. Scholars have debated its true identity for centuries. Some theories suggest it could be a type of cedar or cypress, both known for their durability and resistance to rot. Another idea is that gopher isn't a type of tree at all, but a description of the wood's preparation, perhaps meaning laminated or planed wood. Whatever it was, it had to be incredibly strong and abundant enough to build this behemoth. Imagine the logistics of felling, transporting, and processing that much timber. It would have required a massive workforce, or in this case, a very dedicated family. Next up is the construction process itself. The ark was to have 3 decks, or floors, creating a huge amount of internal space. It also needed rooms, or kinam in Hebrew, which translates to nests. This suggests numerous small compartments, perfect for housing pairs of animals of all shapes and sizes. Think of it like a giant floating zoo with custom-built enclosures. A single door was to be set in its side, and a roof, or sahar, was to be built. The exact nature of this sahar is another point of discussion. Some interpret it as a window, while others believe it was a light source or a roof structure finished to a cubit's height, possibly providing ventilation along the entire length of the top. Ventilation would have been crucial, not just for air, but for releasing the heat generated by thousands of animals. One of the most important instructions was to seal the ark, both inside and out, with pitch. Pitch, or bitumen, is a natural waterproof sealant, a kind of tar. This was absolutely essential for keeping the ark watertight during a global flood. Think of it as ancient marine-grade sealant. Noah and his sons would have had to heat the pitch and meticulously apply it to every seam, every plank, every nook and cranny. This was a painstaking process, but it was the key to the ark's survival. It created a protective layer against the relentless waters, ensuring the integrity of the wooden hull. Now let's consider the engineering marvel this represents. A vessel of this size, with these proportions, a length to width ratio of 6:1, is actually very stable in rough seas. Modern naval architects have noted that these dimensions are surprisingly good for seaworthiness. It wasn't designed for speed, but for stability and durability, which is exactly what you'd need to ride out a cataclysmic flood. It was a barge, not a sailboat. Its purpose was to float and protect its precious cargo. The flat bottom and rectangular shape would maximize internal volume while providing a stable platform. And what about the tools? We're talking about a pre-Iron Age period. The tools available would have likely been made of stone, bone, and perhaps early forms of copper or bronze. Imagine shaping massive timbers with hand-hewn axes, saws, and adzes. Drilling holes for pegs or joinery would have required bow drills. It would have been slow, physically demanding work. The level of craftsmanship required to join these massive planks together into a watertight structure, using only rudimentary tools, is simply astounding. Every joint had to be perfect. They likely used methods like mortise and tenon joints held together with wooden pegs, all sealed with that vital pitch. Let's not forget the sheer time frame. While the Bible doesn't state exactly how long it took, scholars have estimated it could have been anywhere from 55 to 75 years based on the ages of Noah and his sons. This wasn't a weekend project. It was a lifetime's work. It required unwavering dedication, immense physical labor, and a deep, abiding faith in the mission. Imagine the scene: Noah and his family working day in and day out, surrounded by a world that likely ridiculed them. They were building something no one had ever seen, for an event no one could imagine. And what about the internal logistics? Once built, it had to be stocked. Food and fresh water for Noah's family and thousands of animals for over a year. That's a monumental task of preservation and storage. They would have needed vast quantities of dried grains, fruits, and hay. Water would have been stored in clay pots or animal skins. The design had to account for food storage, waste disposal, and the general care of all these creatures. The 3 decks would have been essential for organizing this floating ecosystem. Larger animals on the lower deck for stability, smaller ones on the upper decks. So, when we break it down, the construction of Noah's Ark was an incredible feat of engineering, logistics, and perseverance. It involved a specific design from a divine source, a mysterious but strong building material, advanced waterproofing techniques, and an immense amount of labor over decades. It was a structure perfectly designed for its purpose: survival. A 450-foot-long 3-deck vessel built with hand tools and sealed with pitch, ready to face the storm of a lifetime. It's a story that captures the imagination, showcasing a blend of divine instruction and human ingenuity. Every detail, from the cubit measurements to the application of pitch, reveals a project of epic proportions. It wasn't just about building a boat. It was about building a vessel of hope, a sanctuary for life in the face of utter destruction. The story of its construction is as powerful as the story of its voyage. Thanks for watching. If you found this deep dive into the building of Noah's Ark fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into history's greatest mysteries. See you next time.